let's talk about crotches. If you'd like to do some giggling, I will pause for a moment. Crotches are a great place to find solid and interesting wood. However, they are difficult to access and require extra effort, but sometimes you find a gem. When you get two or more limbs coming together, the place where they join tends to be a swirled mixture of heartwood, sapwood, and interesting grain. However, it is that same unpredictability which drives the regular lumber industry to avoid them. Also, as this wood dries, it can do strange things, splitting, checking, or occasionally just falling apart. Plus, trimming this wood to the size you need requires more specialized equipment and patience. However, for someone like me, the extra hassle is worth it to find a unique treasure that will make a great memorial. So, this is the wood I am sawing today, alongside a fresh crotch that I purloined locally. Here's what happened. This crotch started off like this, with all the bark still on and just the cut ends exposed. Some months ago, I shaved the sides off, but I neglected to seal all this newly exposed wood. Being freshly cut, it was far too wet for this, and so these parts all began to dry really rapidly, whereas this part, still protected by the bark, remained damp and dried more slowly. This has led to the cracks and splits that you can see, but all may not be lost. My plan is to trim 1 inch off each side and then properly seal the ends so it can dry slowly and minimize the chances of losing more interesting wood in here. Naturally, I'll show you the new wood that is exposed once the cutting is done. I'm going to spare you the noise of the saw. Instead, a bit more about resawing. The purpose of resawing is to make thick wood thinner. I'm using the tool that excels at this task, a bandsaw. This bandsaw is new to me, an upgrade over the one I started with 20 years ago. The old one had a 6-inch resaw capacity, meaning I could cut something 6 inches thick in theory. I did a few times, but it was unhappy with it and struggled with cutting wood that was even a medium hardness. If bandsaws had sizes, this one would be a medium. It's about 6 feet tall, 250 pounds, and has a resaw capacity of 13 inches. It has the largest motor that will run well on a standard 15 amp circuit, 1 3/4 horse. This wood is roughly 9 by 9 inches, and the saw is cutting through it nicely. This piece has some nice figuring, but also some bark inclusions, as you can see. Now I'm switching to the other side and decided that a push stick would be useful. A bit more about eastern redbud. This short, wide tree is considered an ornamental. It puts on a spectacular show of fuchsia flowers early in the spring. It was the first plant of any kind to bloom each spring at my Carolina residence. We had 7 of these beauties, and they were reaching the end of their natural 50 to 70-year lifespan. Slowly dying, large limbs would simply rip off, sometimes in storms, but also on calm, clear days. This crotch is from one such instance. Though this wood is distinctive and hard, it has no commercial value since the main trunk is usually less than 8 feet tall, and the wood tends to split while drying, as you have seen. There is no official data on how hard it is, but from the way it cuts, I would say it's nearly as hard as oak. In the next shot, you'll notice the edges are darker. I sealed them with a wax product, and that dramatically slows the drying process. I wanted to take just another moment to show you how this piece of resawn eastern redbud crotch turned out. On this side, I wrote the date that I measured the moisture level content, and I also wrote its content on there. This side averaged to 8.2 for several different readings. The other side here averaged to 7.7. Now we've already established that this piece of wood was drying really unevenly, so I can't be sure if that's just the surface that I measured or if the interior of the wood truly reflects that moisture content. If this wood truly is about 7, 8, even 9% moisture, that is considered acceptable to use at that point, and dry enough that you're not going to get any wood movement that's going to cause any cracking, splitting, or damaging to anything you make out of it. But I can't be sure. So, with the date written on there, I'll wait probably 3 or 4 months, and then I'll measure the moisture content of both sides again. And if it's stable, then I can assume it's safe to use. And if it isn't stable, again, I'll wait 3 or 4 months more and wait for a stable moisture reading. So you're not likely to see this piece of wood again for a while, but that's okay. Sometimes as a woodworker, as well as in life, we do have to be patient. Thanks for watching.